people in recent times have really been wanting to see a new Batman game, but there is a question as to whether or not it should be held within the Batman Arkham universe. Now, I did hold a poll, and it was pretty 50-50. I think it's updated a little bit since I took a screenshot of the poll. However, it's pretty similar in numbers overall. I do think that the majority of people want the Batman Arkham universe to continue, but in my personal opinion, I do not think it should. Now, the reason being is just that the fact that the Arkham universe has run its course, in my opinion. Now, I also do think there is something to be said about a universe that carries on for too long, a TV show, a movie, you name it. Anything that carries on for too long, people kind of start to end up growing resentment towards that series overall, and end up kind of not hating it more, but I think that it becomes underappreciated when it just goes on for far too long. But also, in this Batman Arkham universe, all the villains at this point have essentially been dealt with. Joker died, Penguin, Two-Face, most of the villains have been dealt with and are locked up and put away. Now, you could argue that they could break out of jail and start doing it all over again, but, what's his name? Penguin did try to break out of jail, and he was stopped by Nightwing. Nightwing and Robin are still around, and yeah, we know that Batman did not die at the end of Batman Arkham Knight. He did fake his death because it was just the only way to protect, his family, his loved ones, and everybody around him. Now, there is a couple additional points I do want to add to this video. Overall, it's a couple different paths that this character could go down in terms of creating a new game. First of all, I want to see Telltale Season 3, because there are a lot of villains that, haven't really been seen yet in the Batman universe. And not just Telltale, but also, I'd like to see, not Arkham, but something similar to that, and just with a fresh start, and maybe giving a new perspective on the character. I mentioned Batman the Telltale series as well as the Arkham universe, just because of how different that those two, universes are, and in terms of the style of gameplay, but not just that, the overall stories that they tell are a lot different from each other, but they are both amazing. Now, if you're asking my opinion, I did mention in yesterday's video that I do think that Two-Face could be, the main villain, or should have been the main villain in Batman Arkham Origins, and could be a main villain in a future Batman title. But I think that, there is another option that we can go down, and if you want to create a completely new Batman universe, maybe you don't want to go down the path of using the same old villains that the Arkham universe used in every single game. For example, how about someone like Prometheus, someone who is meant to be the exact opposite of what Batman is. Yes, you could still have these other villains. You can have the Two-Faces, the Penguins, the Jokers. You can have these people in the game. Just do not make them the main focus. And I think that Prometheus or Two-Face should be the main focus of a new Batman game, just to give a fresh perspective. But depending on which villain you choose, I think that it should be set in different timelines. For instance, if you go down the Harvey Dent Two-Face path, it should be more at the beginning of Batman's career, where we see Harvey Dent as a DA and make his way slowly turn into Two-Face. And if you're going to go down the Prometheus path, then the time of which Batman is currently at doesn't really matter as much, in my opinion. Now, just to flip the coin and to potentially speak on the other side of the argument, there's two potential reasons here as to why you would continue the Batman Arkham universe in some way. First of all, you would pretty much have to say that Suicide Squad is non-canon in the Batman universe, right? But there is a couple other factors besides just the Suicide Squad game. Put that aside, I think that, first of all, a company, aka Rocksteady, or maybe even WB, if, let be, that if they were to make an Arkham game, it would be solely because of the name value that the Batman Arkham universe has. I mean, look at this channel, for instance. This channel was grown on the Batman Arkham universe, a series that still a lot of people love to this very day. And another thing to mention is just simply the fact that people, would love to see the continuity of this version of Batman continue. Because like I just said, people love the Batman Arkham universe still to this very day, and people would love to see how does Batman continue from his previous endeavor of having his identity revealed. And not just that, like I mentioned before, you can throw in a new villain, you can add a little Prometheus into it, or you can finish off potential storylines such as Anarchy, which to this very day, I still want to know what happened to him. And if you made a game and had him be one of the main villains, sign me up. I would love to see how his overall story concludes. I would like to see, what does end up happening to someone like Hush, because that ending to that side mission from Arkham City and transition to Arkham Knight was one of the worst follow-throughs in history. I want to see something better than that can at least somewhat slightly redeem what happened in Arkham Knight. And I'm getting a bit off track here, but there are still some potential avenues that you could go down if you wanted to continue the Batman Arkham universe. And we all love, the combat and the stealth sections from these games. So I wouldn't be too concerned about what these games would do from a combat and stealth standpoint. It's more, what can they do from a storyline standpoint to keep the fans interested and to not make it feel like it's just a money grab. Because in my opinion, that's kind of what Suicide Squad was. That's kind of what Gotham Knights was. And those weren't the worst games in the world, not by any means. It's just the fact that Batman Arkham was so far ahead of its time that it made those games look amateurish in comparison. Now, to spin this back to a point that I had just made, part of the reason why I don't think that there should be another Batman Arkham game is because everybody knows Batman's identity. I think that kind of makes the whole, mysteriousness around Batman's character. I think it makes everything about Batman essentially not meaningless by any means. Batman would still have his way with criminals. Just because they know who he is doesn't change the fact he would beat them up. But it does cause a lot of potential issues that I don't think a game would really care to have to take up and have to figure out and explain to everybody why being Batman still works, even if he's not anonymous anymore. I just don't think it would work. I think that you have to start from scratch, and honestly, starting from scratch could be a blessing in disguise. It can give fans a chance to realize there's more to Batman than just the Arkham franchise, myself included, because I'm not the most well-versed out of Batman fans. I'm not the smartest out of them by any means. So it would give us all a chance to kind of expand our horizons, get some new villains in there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Should the next Batman game, and no, I'm not talking about that VR game, because in my opinion, that shouldn't even count. But should the next actual Batman game that comes to consoles, should it be a Batman Arkham game? Yes or no? Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. I'm always open to your guys' opinions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more content. Peace!